This brand is well known because of its tuning, which is usually really great. It's really balanced and very easy to like for a lot of people, and somehow it's mascot. Yes, I'm talking about that brand. I believe you already know. And hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for the Moondrop Quarks. Okay, this Moondrop Quarks is their cheapest IM. It costs only around 10 bucks. I mean, yeah, that's really cheap. And if you are maybe expecting anime girl art with its box, maybe you will be disappointed, because at this price point you don't get that. Actually, the box is really just a simple box with some little logo here and there, but that's it. But okay, just like usual, I will review them based on the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. For me, the build quality suits the price point. I mean, it's really cheap, and I don't really expect anything from the build quality. It's all made of plastic, and it has this kind of ballot type. I feel that the plastic, it's not really good or really bad either. It's just okay, and you could see that because it's transparent, you could see that where the driver is, and then you could see also there's a foam around this part too, and then you could see that on the back side there's 3 circles somehow. The L1 is black and the right one is red. It's easier to tell them apart just by looking at the color. And then it's non-detachable, and the cable itself, thankfully, it's quite thick, and I feel that it has really good quality and also flexible too. So yeah, other than that, for me, it's just suit the price point. Well, this IM has this bullet shape type, which I believe to be really suitable for a lot of people. I mean, you can just wear them straight down, or you can wear them over ear just like this, and this will still feels good no matter what. This Quarks is surprisingly diffuse field neutral-ish when it comes to the frequency response. You can see that the bass is relatively flat, and then there's elevation around upper mid-range pinna gain area around 3K, and after that there's treble roll-off that is somehow really similar to the asymptotic diffuse field or the diffuse field itself. And when it comes to comparison, if you check the TRN MT1 or the KZ-EDX, the TRN and also the KZ-EDX both have more bass elevation and also upper mid to treble elevation that makes them much more V-shaped compared to this Moondrop Quarks, which is relatively neutral. When it comes to this IM, I need to give a little bit of disclaimer first. In this review, I will be using my SpinFit CP100 as its tips, because for a simple reason that using its stock ear tips, no matter what size, I couldn't really get a proper fit, so I didn't feel the bass of this IM. It feels really hollow, and using this SpinFit helps a lot. So yeah, that's a little bit of disclaimer. And then I will be using my main DAP, which is the IBA, so the X160, and also I've tried them using my phone too, the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which I somehow it feels kind of hard to drive using a phone only, but nevertheless I can still play them to acceptable level of volume. Okay, talking about the tuning of this IM, I consider them to be its main strength at this price point, because this tuning, I simply call this neutral, or you might say that this is quite a DF neutral-ish, thanks to its pinna gain around 3K, and then the other thing is quite flat. And for me, at this price point, at under 100 bucks, this is one of the few IMs that could sound really neutral if you are using that target as your neutral point. I mean, at this price point, the other IMs are usually either bloated dark or simply V-shaped. There's no neutral IM at this price point. This is their cheapest one, and somehow their most neutral IM that they ever made. And for me, that is strange, because you know that usually people People tend to buy a neutral IM because of how clean they are and how clear they are because of that neutrality. But at this price point, for me, because of the driver limitation too, I don't really get that much of a detail, but instead I only get that neutral-ish thing. So for me, that make the purpose of this IM is kind of awkward. Okay, when we're talking about the tonality of this IM, the bass is lean, you can feel the punch and it's really tight and fast, but you don't really get that energy and dynamics from this IM. The bass is, especially for EDM, is not full enough, it's not thick enough for me to get that fun factor somehow. And if we are talking about the mid-range, yes, it is quite lean and it's leaning towards more for the female vocal rather than the male vocals. You lost a bit of male vocal thickness in here, but the female vocal, yes, the vocal overall are clear and clean. If you are not hearing like very thick male vocals like Josh Groban or Michael Bublé, I think you have no problem with this IM, because if you hear for Ed Sheeran, he doesn't really have a thick vocal. It still sounds quite natural in here. But here's the thing, even though it's clean, it's clear and it's very clear in pronunciation of every word that the vocalist sing, for me it doesn't really have the smooth and soft texture to the vocal, so it's a little bit dry. Even though I'm not saying this is harsh, I'm just feeling the texture is not really lush for vocalists. It's just clear without any obvious peaks. And for me, I can still hear a little bit of shoutiness because of that 3K bump, especially when I hear some bad recorded music, for example like Ed Sheeran's Galway Girl, or even you may find it in Kayla Settle's This Is Me from the soundtrack of the Greatest Showman. And the treble, again, it is quite lean, it is clear, but it's not really extended. So if you are searching for a neutral IM with extended treble and really bright sparkling treble that could reach really high notes, you don't really get it here. So like I said, the technicality for me, it's not that good either. Usually the neutral IM around its price point is the most detailed one, because it doesn't have this big thick bass that will interfere with the other frequency, or somehow sibilance treble that again could interfere with other frequencies. But like for example the Etymotic and also the Xwanergy that I've ever tried, those IM for me are usually clearer and cleaner, and somehow it gives me more detail when I'm hearing the music. But in this IM, it doesn't really happen that way for me. It's not really detailed. It's not really white either. So for me, I don't really get any good point for technicalities around here. It's just really balanced. When it comes to tonal balance, again, I need to praise that because it's really balanced, so I don't find that again that mid-bass bloat that could interfere with the other frequencies. But the overall detail, I don't really feel that I could categorize this as a detail IM, because when I'm comparing them with the other IMs such the EDX or MT1, somehow even though I still feel this is more balanced, but I don't feel that this is necessarily much better in detail compared to these IMs. So I hope you understand what I mean. It's just sitting awkwardly in this price point. You just really get that really good tonality, but other than that, I don't really get a really high point from this IM. And then yeah, for comparison, I have a lot to compare with at this price point, like the EDX, MT1, or this KKZ VK4, and for me these are amazing IM for the price point. I should say that the EDX, maybe when it comes to detail retrieval, I still get more detail somehow from this EDX when I'm hearing, for example, orchestral music. Even though yes, I do get that mid-bass bleed through the mid-range, but the upper mid-range to treble area, for me I get more information, I get more details when I'm hearing orchestral music compared to this Moondrop Quarks, but yeah, I find myself to be leaning towards the Moondrop Quarks definitely, because this KKZ EDX is definitely too V-shaped for me, and this IM is much more balanced and I could hear them for much more longer time. But again, at this price point, people usually tends to searching for a fun IM, because at this price point, usually the one who buy these kind of IMs at this price point usually are the new ones to the hobby, which are, you know, like me, when I'm going into this hobby at first time, I'm searching for a V-shaped IM, I'm searching for a base head IMs, and this is far from that. This is really different, and compared to the others IM at this price point, for me, this is the least, has the least base of them all. And compare them with this MT1 also. For me, the MT1 has a similar detail retrieval, but the depth and soundstage is larger and it has better three-dimensional imaging for me. Even though the separation also, the other imaging thing doesn't really, it's not necessarily better than this Quarks, but yeah, it gives more wow effect, it gives more depth and majesticness. Is that even a word? Majesticness to the soundtrack of the orchestral. And comparing them with this KKZ VK4 also, I actually really like the tonality of this KKZ VK4, even though there are lots of QC issues that people don't really get the same of finesse level at this IM. Somehow some of their batches has different tonalities, but the one I have here really have a really good tonality. It's somehow U-shaped-ish balanced, and I really like the tonal balance of this IM too. But I still feel that there's a little bit of plasticky timbre usually happens around at 8 kHz at the frequency response, so it just gives a not really natural timbre to it. But this Quark somehow feels more natural to me. And then comparing them with the, you know, the legendary Sony MH755, which you could, if you are lucky, you can find this Sony MH755 around 10 bucks only, and for me it is still the unbeatable one. It is still, it's like a cheat. It's just so good at this price point that it feels like cheating, because it has this really good tonal balance. It's kind of V-shaped still, but it's really well balanced. The bass is deep, the sub bass, you can hear the sub bass really well with this IM. The channel matching is really good too, and then the vocal, even though it's thinner compared to this Moondrop Quarks somehow, but for me I get more soft and addicting texture to the vocal. So when I'm hearing two female vocal, for me it's more addicting in this MH755, and I find the treble to be more sparkling than this Quarks. And again, the soundstage and also imaging, I found them to be more three-dimensional and somehow has better pinpoint imaging for instruments for me for this MH755. So I think that's all. If you're talking about the overall pros for this IM, yes, the fit is amazing. You can't really get wrong with this kind of IM. You just find the right ear tips and then they will serve you really well. And the tonality, if you are searching and you want to try, you want to know how neutral IM tastes like, even though yeah, so this could be the first step of your journey towards a really neutral IM. If you like this kind of tonality in the end, you find yourself to be really craving for more details but with the similar tonality, go, after you buy this, go and save some money and then you buy Atmotix IM or maybe X1RG, but it's quite hard to find at these days. And then when we're talking about the cons, of course, for me the positioning price and the overall target for this IM is quite confusing, because it's really cheap but it's quite hard to drive, and then the tonality is not for, yeah, it's not for newbies, where the newbies usually, yeah, I hate to say newbies, but the ones that are usually jump into this hobby first, they usually crave for much more bass quantity. And the other ones that are already matured and more want more neutral sounding IEMs usually have a crave for those details that you don't really get at this IEM. But nevertheless, for me, if you ask me do I like the tuning, yes, I still like the tuning, and I still can wear them and enjoy them for hours, but I'm not really sure about the other people that, like I said, usually crave for more bass at around this price point. I think that's all for me. If you have any question, please write down in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye!